Namaste and welcome back to another soulful episode where we will touch on the topic of Sanskrit across the seas, the voice of the diaspora. I'm your host Sudevi Dasi, and today we'll journey deeper into the sacred river of wisdom that has flowed through time, across oceans, and into the hearts of people far from its source. It is my honor to welcome back our special guest, a renowned Sanskrit scholar and cultural custodian, Dr. Kamal Kishore Mishra. Thank you, Dr. Mishra, for joining us again and for being part of this very important conversation.
Thank you, Sudevi Dasiji, for inviting me in your podcast. Thank you so much.
And to our viewers, stay with us as we explore how the Bhagavad Gita continues to guide, inspire, and evolve, even far from the land of its birth, across oceans and centuries, from busy temples in Trinidad to Sanskrit recitations in cultural classrooms in Fiji. One ancient flame still burns bright, Sanskrit and the timeless wisdom of the Bhagavad Gita. In this episode, we journey through the heart of the Indian diaspora, where culture is not just preserved, but reborn. When Indian communities left their homeland in the 19th century, they didn't just carry clothes and spices, they carried memory of verses, rituals, language, and meaning. Dr. Mishra, you've spent many years serving Indian diaspora communities and working closely with them around the world. Could you share some of your insights from those experiences?
The Indian diaspora or Pravasi Bharatiye did not just replicate India abroad. They actually recreated its own beautiful, meaningful essence, whether in Fiji or Mauritius or Trinidad or Tobago or Suriname or South Africa or Guyana. I have seen firsthand how communities built temples from humble means, taught Sanskrit in small living rooms, and kept traditions alive through oral tradition, oral storytelling, and collective worship, sang bhajana, and above all, they recited the Bhagavad Gita. What's remarkable is not just their devotion, actually their quiet determination, which I like profoundly. I recall elders in Fiji reciting the Bhagavad Gita from their own memories when books were scarce. I have met young people from Fiji, young people from Caribbean, young people from Mauritius. They are learning Sanskrit shlokas with the same reverence as their ancestors did. This is more than nostalgia. It is cultural resolution. The Bhagavad Gita become a moral compass guiding generation to generation on how to live, how to endure, how to uphold dharmas and displacement.
Dr. Mishra, the Indian diaspora is a topic that's gaining attention globally. Is there anything in particular that the government of India is doing to revive or honor this history?
I can say yes. And it's very encouraging. It's heartening to see this kind of shift. The government of India has taken meaningful steps to deepen its engagement with the Indian diaspora throughout the world through both policy and cultural recognition. A landmark example I can share: recently Global Indian Diaspora World Conference, jointly organized by Department of Sanskrit, Anthropology and Psychology of University of Calcutta and ARSP, Antarashtriya Sahyog Parishad, New Delhi. It brought together diaspora representatives. Lot of His Excellencies, High Commissioners came from many countries, and near about the participants was 14 countries. And I'm so happy to share that our Honorable Deputy Prime Minister of Fiji, Professor Biman Prasad, was the chief guest, and the Honorable Governor was the guest of honor in this World Conference. And it brought togetherness is a huge possibility. I can say creating a space not just to celebrate shared heritage, but to foster dialogue, collaborations, and historical reflections for the future. This conference made a turning point from symbolic gestures to sustained engagement. It reflects a growing recognition that India's story is incomplete without the voices of those who left it never truly parted.
So, I've visited India a few times and I've often struggled to explain who I am. Sometimes it's hard to explain and that my ancestors left India over a century ago. Is there any monument or museum in India that recognizes this part of our history?
Yeah, I can share some insights from your questions. This is the powerful reflection, and you are not alone. Many descendants of indentured laborers face the same challenges of explaining identity and self, being Indians by ancestors, but born of another host land. These are the things. One important side that helps tell this story is the Heritage Zone of Calcutta Port Trust, particularly the Suriname Jetties at Khidirpur and Gadar Memorial Hall. These are the very docks from which thousands of indentured laborers boarded ships to Fiji, Trinidad and Tobago, Mauritius, and beyond. These are also proposals for a large and more comprehensive indentured laborer museum in India that would serve as a national monument to this journey full of struggle. A place where people like you can say, point and say like this, "Hey, this is where it began." It's more than a moment. It's a reclamation of history, identity, and belongingness.
Dr. Mishra, what message would you share with young generations of the Indian diaspora, especially those who may feel disconnected from their ancestral roots?
My message is very simple. Your roots are not behind, they are within you. You don't have to be fluent in Sanskrit or live in India and to be part of this particular history. The very fact that you carry the memory, the curiosity, and the pride of your heritage makes you part of an unbroken legacy. Take time to explore your ancestry, but more importantly, live within it. Celebrate your festivals. Ask your grandparents questions. Visit heritage sites. Learn to verses from the Ramayana or the verses from the Srimad Bhagavad Gita. These are not small acts. These are actually affirmations. And remember, your story is not a footnote in Indian history. It's a absolute full chapter and it's still being written.
Now let's turn to something quite remarkable in the Indian diaspora: the presence of Sanskrit through the Bhagavad Gita. Across generations and continents, this ancient text continues to be recited, taught, and lived. Dr. Mishra, how has the Bhagavad Gita remained such a vital thread in the Indian diaspora communities, far from the land where it was actually born?
That's a very beautiful observation. The Bhagavad Gita is more than a religious scripture. It's a spiritual guide and a philosophical anchor. Even thousands of miles away from India, Indian diaspora communities preserve its recitation in Sanskrit, often without fully understanding every word. Why? Because the sound, the rhythm, the very vibrations of the verses carry a certain sanctity. In places like Mauritius, Fiji, Trinidad and Tobago, Guyana, families would gather to chant it regularly. This was not just about religion. It was about identity, self-connection and resilience. We must also honor the extraordinary contribution of Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ji, whose Bhagavad Gita, as it is, brought this timeless text to the world. His translation bridges cultures and generations, making the Bhagavad Gita accessible far beyond country or far beyond India. It is a privilege to recall that Srila Prabhupada was an alumni of the University of Calcutta, where I am now serving as a head of department of Sanskrit. From these very hands, his global journey began. His legacy continues to inspire seekers everywhere, ensuring the Sanskrit and the Bhagavad Gita thrive across continents.
Dr. Mishra, it's truly a gift that we can read and understand the Bhagavad Gita today through Bhagavad Gita as it is by Srila Prabhupada. We feel immense gratitude for how he brought the essence of the Bhagavad Gita into clear, accessible English for the whole world. And how remarkable that he was an alumna of the very university you're sitting in right now, the University of Calcutta. With that legacy in mind, are there any initiatives or projects by the university or others to keep Sanskrit and the culture it carries alive for future generations?
And thank you for highlighting this legacy. The Srimad Bhagavad Gita, as it is, remains one of the most influential spiritual texts of our time. Srila Prabhupada's ability to retain original Sanskrit while making its wisdom universally accessible is truly remarkable. At the Department of Sanskrit, University of Calcutta, where I am heading, we take great pride in this connection. We are actively building on this heritage, offering open courses in Sanskrit and Indian philosophy, and forging global academics partnership. And the work is in process. We are also working towards establishing a dedicated center for Sanskrit and Indian diaspora studies, where the Bhagavad Gita can be studied not just as a scripture, but as a timeless guide to ethical and purposeful living. It's our way of ensuring that both the language and the spirit of Sanskriti stay vibrant in the modern world, because we always remember Sanskrite Sanskriti Paragya, Sanskrite Sakla Kala, Sanskrite Saklam Jnanam, Sanskrite Kim na Vidyate.
Dr. Mishra, in today's fast-paced, globalized world, how are these ancient ideas resonating with the Indian diaspora, especially with the younger generation?
You know, what's truly inspiring is how Indian diaspora youth are now engaging with these traditions on their own terms. In Canada, in Fiji, in Mauritius, in South Africa, in Guyana, in Trinidad and Tobago, in UK and US, we are seeing a shift from preservation to re-introspection. Srimad Bhagavad Gita and Sanskrit are being explored not only as a sacred text or linguistic heritage, but also as a blueprint for modern holistic life. Young professionals in the fields like neuroscience, artificial intelligence, and ethics are exploring that the Bhagavad Gita's philosophy, clarity, and Sanskrit's logical precision offer powerful insights. It's no longer seen as old. It's a relevant, even revolutionary.
So it's no longer just about preserving heritage, it's about equipping the next generation with a toolkit for the future, is it?
Yes, absolutely. Srimad Bhagavad Gita, for instance, is not merely a spiritual text. It's a guide to navigating life with wisdom and inner steadiness. When young people abroad connects with that idea, it ignites something very powerful, something very meaningful, something very purposeful. They are not just learning about their ancestors, they are stepping into a living legacy that prepares them to lead with compassion and clarity in this complex world. That's the new faces of Indian diaspora. I can quote a Sanskrit word, Ayang Nijaha Paroveti Ganana Laguchetsam Udar Charitanam Tu Vasudeva Kutumbakam. The world is a family.
So now let's turn to our Indian diaspora. How has Sanskriti, our culture and sacred language, How has it journeyed with Indian communities across oceans and generations?
When our ancestors left India, they did not just carry spices, or rituals. They carried their own soul. The Atman of Bharata. What is the meaning of Bharata? Bha means bhav, Ra means rag, Ta means tal. They carried all these beautiful elements in their Atman across the diaspora in Fiji, in Mauritius, in Trinidad and Tobago, in Suriname, in South Africa, in Guyana, even parts of many Asian countries. The Bhagavad Gita became their guiding light. It was more than scriptures, it was their strength, their power, their determination, their conviction. Even today, from yoga studios in California to wellness retreat in UK, in Brazil, or some anywhere in the world, and village mandirs in the Pacific, Sanskrit mantras continue to ground people spiritually. This enduring connection is not just about preserving their culture. It's about living within it, growing with it. And cultural expressions like classical dances, which I have seen you perform to, and the devotional music play a powerful role in helping sound and third generation youth stay connected. These are not just performances, they are immersive experiences where heritage becomes personal. Through rhythm, through movement, through melody, young people don't just learn about their own roots, they feel them. They feel the fragrance of them. It's not just a nostalgia, it's a living, breathing culture passed on with pride and purpose.
So, one of the most striking references of the Bhagavad Gita comes from physicist Robert Oppenheimer, who famously quoted it after witnessing the first atomic bomb test. He said, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." What does this say about the Bhagavad Gita's universal relevance?
I can say like this, that particular moment reflects the timeless and universal power of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. It's not it's not only confined to the temple, to the trees. Actually, emerging in moments of profound human economy, often Hammer, standing at the edge of scientific discovery and moral consequence, turned to Lord Krishna's word for meaning. The Bhagavad Gita does not just guide spiritual seekers, it speaks to scientists, to leaders, to thinkers, anyone confronting duty. This philosophical depth is what makes it enduring across culture and generation.
As we close today, Dr. Mishra, what is one thought you'd like our viewers to carry with them today?
Let the Bhagavad Gita be your own mirror, your own map, reflecting your inner self while guiding your path forward. It's a scientific, it's a linguistic, it's a profoundly humane. Sanskrit, its timeless fashion, still resonates today. Through us, the global Indian diaspora, that ancient voice continues to echo into the future.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mishra, for this deeply enlightening journey. And thank you, dear viewers. Let this journey from wisdom to wonder continue as we rediscover Sanskrit, Sanskriti, and the soul of the Indian diaspora. Until next time, Jai Shri Krishna.
Jai Shri Krishna. Jai Shri Krishna. And everyone, Jai Shri